Hey everyone! So here's something wild. I never went to an international school, never lived in an English-speaking country, and honestly, I was pretty lazy about the whole thing. But somehow I managed to learn English well enough to complete both my bachelor's and master's degrees, entirely in English.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Another language learning video. Great. But stick with me here, because I'm not going to tell you to study grammar for 3 hours a day or memorize 1,000 flashcards. Actually, I'm going to show you the exact opposite. Today, I want to get super specific about how I learned English by myself using methods that actually felt fun. No torture, no boring textbooks, just stuff that made me want to keep going. So if you've been struggling to learn English, or if you tried before and gave up because it felt like too much work, this video is for you. Let's jump in.
Step 1, the zero pressure beginning. All right, step 1 is probably going to surprise you. I want you to watch YouTube videos, or honestly any media you enjoy. But here's the catch. Watch them without English subtitles. I can already hear you saying, "What? That doesn't make sense." But trust me on this one. Do this for at least 30 minutes every single day for about a week. Just 1 week, that's it. Now, why would I tell you to do something that seems backwards? Let me explain. When I first started learning English, I tried watching videos with subtitles right away. And you know what happened? I got overwhelmed. There were so many words I didn't know, subtitles were flying by, and my brain was trying to read, listen, and understand all at the same time. It was exhausting. But here's what I discovered. When you remove the subtitles in the beginning, something magical happens. You actually relax. You stop stressing about understanding every single word, and you start focusing on something way more important, how the language actually sounds. Think about it this way. When babies learn their first language, they don't start by reading, right? They listen, they watch, they absorb, and that's exactly what we're going to do. During this first week without subtitles, pay attention to things you normally wouldn't notice. Listen to the rhythm of English. Notice how sentences go up and down in tone. Watch how people move their mouths when they speak. Look at their facial expressions, their hand gestures, their body language. Here's something interesting. Have you ever heard people say that your personality changes when you speak a different language? I find this so fascinating because it's actually true. English speakers tend to use different facial expressions and body language compared to speakers of other languages. By watching videos without subtitles first, you're training yourself to pick up on these subtle things from day one. So during week 1, don't worry about understanding everything. Just get a feel for the language. Let it wash over you. Notice how it sounds, how it flows, how people use it naturally. You're building something called language sense, and it's going to help you way more than you think.
Step 2. Time to turn on the subtitles. Okay, you've made it through week 1. Good job, now it's time to level up. In step 2, you're going to do the same thing, watch videos, but this time, turn on those English subtitles. Now, let me give you some tips here because choosing the right videos is super important. As a beginner, I always recommend videos that are less than 10 minutes long. Why? Because longer videos can be overwhelming when you're just starting out. Your brain gets tired, you lose focus, and suddenly learning English feels like a chore instead of something fun. So, what should you watch? This is where it gets exciting. My absolute favorite type of content for learning English was travel vlogs, and there's a really good reason for this. Travel vlogs have tons of scene changes. The person might be walking through a market, eating food, talking to locals, showing you different places. All these visual cues help you understand what they're saying, even when you don't know all the words. Plus, let's be honest, travel vlogs are just entertaining. You're not sitting there feeling like you're studying. You're enjoying content about cool places, interesting experiences, and different cultures. The learning happens naturally while you're having fun. Here's a pro tip that made a huge difference for me. Choose videos about topics, places, or things you already know something about. Let me give you my personal example. I used to live in Japan, So I was super familiar with Japanese culture, cities, food, all of that. When I was learning English, I would specifically search for Japan travel vlogs. Even if I didn't understand every word, I could follow along because I recognized the places, knew what foods they were trying, understood the context. This familiarity helped me guess the meaning of new words and sentences way more easily. So think about what you're familiar with. Maybe you love cooking, watch cooking videos. Maybe you're into fitness, watch workout content. Maybe you're obsessed with a particular video game, find gaming channels. The more familiar the topic, the easier it will be to understand, and the more motivated you'll be to keep watching. Remember, the goal here isn't to understand 100% of what's being said. If you understand 80 to 90%, that's perfect. You're learning, but you're not getting frustrated.
Step 3, get emotional. Yes, really. Here's where things get interesting, and honestly, a bit weird, but this step changed everything for me. Find a shorter video that you absolutely love, something that makes you laugh, or teaches you something cool, or just feels entertaining to you. Then, I want you to repeat after the speaker, sentence by sentence. But here's the key part. Do it with emotion. Act like you are the speaker. I'm serious. Don't just repeat the words in a flat, monotone voice. Copy their tone. Mimic their facial expressions. Use the same hand gestures. Get into it. I know this sounds silly. You might be thinking, I'm gonna feel ridiculous talking to myself and making faces at my screen. And yeah, you probably will at first. But let me tell you why this works so incredibly well. When you involve your emotions in speaking, your brain creates stronger memory connections. Think about it. You probably remember emotional moments from your life way more clearly than boring everyday moments, right? The same principle applies to language learning. When I was a teenager, I was obsessed with this YouTuber called Nigga Higga. I loved his content so much that I would watch his videos over and over, repeating every line with the same energy he had. I even memorized entire scripts for my favorite videos and acted them out by myself in my room. Looking back, it was pretty funny. But you know what? My speaking improved faster during that time than any other period of my learning. By copying not just the words, but the whole performance, the rhythm, the emotion, the energy, you're training yourself to speak English the way native speakers actually do. You're not learning textbook English. You're learning real, natural, expressive English. Plus, it's way more fun than boring repetition exercises. Instead of feeling like you're studying, it feels like you're performing or playing or just being a bit silly. And that keeps you coming back for more. Now, you might be wondering, should I look up every new word I don't understand? My answer might surprise you. I only looked up words when I felt like it, when I was curious, when a word kept appearing and I really wanted to know what it meant. I never followed strict rules like write down 10 new words every day or make flashcards of every word you don't know. Those rules made learning feel like homework, and I wanted learning to feel like fun. So my advice? Look up words when you're genuinely curious. Your natural curiosity is a way better motivator than any rule someone tells you to follow. Step 4, talk to yourself. The secret weapon. Okay, step 4 is where you're going to feel a little crazy, but it's honestly one of the most effective things you can do. Are you ready? Talk to yourself in English out loud. Now, you can talk about literally anything. Tell yourself about your day, describe what you're doing, talk about a video you just watched or an article you read. Anything goes. But here's what I discovered, and this is gold. Talking to yourself is most effective when you're experiencing strong emotions. Let me explain. Whenever something exciting happened to me, I would describe it to myself in English. When I was happy about something, I'd talk about it out loud. And here's the funny part. Whenever I got really angry or frustrated about something, I would rant about it in English. I remember one time I had this terrible day where everything went wrong, and I was so mad. I started complaining out loud to myself in English, and suddenly words were just flowing out of me.
My English became way more fluent when I was emotional. It was like the emotion bypassed the part of my brain that normally gets anxious about making mistakes. So here's my advice. Use your emotions as fuel. When you're excited, talk about it in English. When you're frustrated, complain in English. When you're happy, express that happiness in English. When you're confused about something, work through that confusion out loud. Why does this work so well? Because you're not thinking about grammar rules or trying to construct perfect sentences. You're just expressing yourself naturally. And that's how real fluency develops. Don't worry about making mistakes when you talk to yourself. Nobody's listening except you. This is your safe space to experiment, to try out new phrases, to practice without judgment. The more you do this, the more natural speaking English will become. You'll stop translating in your head and start thinking directly in English. And that's when you know you're making real progress.
Step 5. Time to read, but make it fun. Congratulations! If you've been following steps 1 through 4 for about an hour a day for around 6 months, you're ready for step 5. Now this timeline might be different for you. If you practice more, it could be shorter. If you practice less, it might take longer. But the point is, you've built a solid foundation, and now we're going to add reading into the mix. Here's what I want you to do. Pick an English novel that you think you'll enjoy and that you can understand at least 60% of. That 60% number is important. If you understand too little, reading will feel frustrating and boring. If you understand too much, you're not learning anything new. Now, I specifically recommend novels over nonfiction books, and here's why. Nonfiction books, like business books, self-help books, textbooks, tend to be pretty dry. They have very few pictures, the topics can be dense, and honestly, they can put you to sleep. When you're learning a language, the last thing you want is boring material that makes you want to quit. But novels keep you engaged with the story. You want to know what happens next. You're invested in the characters. Even when you come across words you don't know, you keep reading because you're curious about the plot. This emotional investment makes all the difference. You're not forcing yourself to read. You actually want to keep going. Reading English novels did something amazing for my English skills. It dramatically improved my grammar without me having to study grammar rules. It expanded my vocabulary naturally, and, most importantly, it improved my writing skills enormously. When I had to write essays and papers for my bachelor's and master's programs, I found it relatively easy. Why? Because I had absorbed so much written English from all those novels. I had internalized sentence structures, learned how to express complex ideas, picked up on proper punctuation and flow. Reading gave me a foundation that made academic writing feel manageable instead of terrifying. So find a genre you love. Mystery, romance, science fiction, fantasy. It doesn't matter. Just pick something that makes you excited to keep reading. Start with simpler novels if you need to, then gradually work your way up to more complex ones. And here's a tip. Don't stop to look up every single word you don't know. That will kill your momentum and make reading feel like a chore. Only look up words if you keep seeing them repeatedly, or if not knowing the word prevents you from understanding the story. Trust me on this. The joy of reading should never be sacrificed for the sake of learning every possible word.
All right, we've reached the final step, and it's probably the most challenging, but also the most effective. Are you ready for this? Step 6 is all about putting yourself in situations where you have to use English, where English isn't optional, it's necessary. Now, I know this sounds scary, but hear me out. For me, I decided to join a bachelor's program that was taught entirely in English. Every lecture, every assignment, every discussion, all in English. I had no choice but to improve quickly. But you don't have to go that extreme. There are so many ways to create this kind of environment for yourself. You could join an online course about something you're interested in, maybe coding, design, photography, whatever that's taught in English. You could find a language exchange partner online and commit to regular video calls where you only speak English. You could join local or online meetup groups where English is the primary language. If you're working, you could look for opportunities to interact with English-speaking clients through email or video calls. You could volunteer for projects that require English. You could offer to help international colleagues with something. Or you could do what I'm doing right now. Create content in English and share it online. Make YouTube videos, write blog posts, post on social media. When you know other people will see your English, you naturally push yourself to improve.
My weird motivation story. Okay, before we finish, I want to share something kind of funny with you. I want to tell you about what actually motivated me to start learning English in the first place, because looking back, it's pretty amusing. I was around 12 years old, just a kid walking around my neighborhood, and one day I saw two strangers on the street speaking fluent English to each other. And I remember this moment so clearly. I literally couldn't take my eyes off them. I just stood there, probably looking like a weirdo, because I thought they were the coolest people I had ever seen. In that moment, I made a decision. I thought to myself, I'm going to learn English so I can be that cool too. I'm going to walk down the street speaking fluent English and people are going to think I'm awesome. That was it. That was my entire motivation. I just wanted to be cool. It seems silly, right? But that simple goal, I want to be cooler, carried me through years of learning. It took me all the way from being a 12-year-old kid who knew nothing to someone who could complete university degrees in English. So here's my point. Your motivation doesn't have to be some grand, impressive reason. Maybe you want to watch movies without subtitles. Maybe you want to understand your favorite songs. Maybe you want to make friends from other countries. Maybe you just think English sounds cool. Whatever your reason is, it's good enough. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Final thoughts. All right, we've covered a lot today. Let me quickly recap the 6 steps. Watch videos without subtitles for a week to develop your language sense. Turn on English subtitles and watch content you actually enjoy. Repeat after speakers with emotion and energy. Talk to yourself, especially when you're feeling emotional. Read novels that keep you engaged with the story, and put yourself in situations where you need to use English. But more than any specific step, remember this: make it fun. Make it enjoyable. Make it something you look forward to instead of something you dread. Learning English changed my life in ways I never expected. It opened up educational opportunities, career possibilities, and friendships I never would have had otherwise. And it all started with just wanting to be cool. So wherever you are in your English learning journey, I hope this video gave you some ideas and some encouragement. You can do this, and you can do it in a way that doesn't feel like torture. I wish you the best of luck with your English learning. Now go out there and have some fun with it. Thanks so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, wow, thank you. I really appreciate you sticking with me. If you found this helpful, let me know in the comments what step you're going to try first. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.